Hi, everybody. This is Colin Murphy, and welcome to Torcana Podcast number 20. So, today I've put together a 12-step guide to starting or growing your real estate portfolio in 2017. So, I'm recording this just before Christmas 2016. That's obviously a time where some people have a little bit more for reflection. You step away from hopefully the day job for a couple of days or a week or two if you're lucky. A lot of that time has to be spent running around dealing with the friends and family, the presents, Christmas dinners, all the rest of it. If you can, I'd certainly recommend you try and get a little bit of quiet time for yourself and maybe your partner and sit down and discuss your financial goals, discuss your real estate goals, discuss how you can make yourself wealthier, improve your net worth over the next 12 months. So I'm going to talk about that over the next 15 minutes or so. And as I say, I've put down 12 steps that you can follow step by step to starting or growing your real estate portfolio in the new year. So step number one is simply commit, that you commit to doing something about your real estate portfolio. Write it down, tell people about it, make a promise to yourself that you're going to buy properties in 2017. Tell yourself that you're going to do whatever it takes, that you'll stay up late, you'll get up early, you'll hustle, you'll network, you'll get yourself organized, but commit to doing it. Tell yourself that you're going to do it, make yourself a promise to do it, stick it on a post-it on the wall beside your desk, do whatever you have to do, but make a commitment, make a promise to yourself that you're going to do it. That's the very first thing, because if you're not committed, it's highly unlikely to happen. Okay, so that's step number one. Step number two is that you get your finances in order, and that means getting your life in order a little bit. I mean, look, everybody's got chaotic lives. I know me and my teammates certainly do, but it's essential that you have some sort of semblance of order in the financial element of it. You need to, there's no point in diving in and making offers and networking with people and all the rest of it if you don't have your in-house financing first. You know, get your own house in order before you start looking at other people's houses. Spend a couple of months tracking all of your income and expenses. See what your fixed costs are, see what your variable costs are, figure out if you can cut back on any of those, and decide how much you can realistically save in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Figure out what you're going to need to buy those properties. Make a plan, make a financial plan. So I do our household budget, for example, every 2 months. I look at the company's cash flow probably every 3 or 4 days. So I'm always trying to get the finances in order, and they keep getting more complicated the more properties we buy, but that makes it just more essential to get it in order. It's not something you do once and then ignore it. It's a habit that you have to create, but it's an essential habit if you want to be a successful real estate investor. Step number three is that you study and you gain general knowledge. Okay, I'm not talking about looking at the prices of houses in a specific street. I'm talking about gaining general knowledge about real estate investment. And if you want some websites, here's a couple of websites. I'm going to put these in the show notes. Biggerpockets.com, that's biggerpockets, plural.com. Fantastic resource for information. Everybody should check it out. Zillow.com's got lots of useful information and reports as well. So does Realtor.com. So does RealtyTrack.com. So there's the Florida Realtors website. I mean, there's loads of general websites out there that you could spend 10 or 15 minutes browsing every day, or subscribe to various newsletters and mailers that they'll send out to you. But also, aside from looking at websites, which is all well and good, but I think you gain a much deeper appreciation of real estate if you can actually commit to reading some of the really good real estate books. Okay, so reading books I think is as important, if not more important, than spending time in front of a monitor looking at maps and spreadsheets and articles. Reading books can certainly has changed my my habits a lot. I mean, here's three of them that are really good that I've read and that made a big difference to me. First one is Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing. Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Real Estate Investing by Brandon Turner. Okay, check that one out. Number two, The ABCs of Real Estate Investing by Ken McElroy. Okay, The ABCs of Real Estate Investing by Ken McElroy. Fantastic book. Number three, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. And I'd read them in that order. Start out with the Ultimate Beginner's Guide, then move on to the ABCs of Real Estate Investing, and then move on to the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And I'll put links to Amazon and the show notes for each of those 3 books. And if you have time to get started on 1 or 2 of them over the Christmas period or whenever, I think you'd be doing yourself a big favor. Okay? So step number 5 is set your goals and decide what strategy can get you there. All right, and be ambitious. Don't just have a goal of, well, I'll buy at least 1 property in 2017. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with buying 1 property. It's certainly better than buying none. But I always think you should be ambitious in your goals, and don't just decide on a goal for 1 quarter or 1 year. Spread it out. Where do you want to be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Okay, so be ambitious. You're much better off setting a goal of buying 20 properties and only end up getting 6 than setting a goal of buying 3 and getting 3. Okay, so reach for the stars, set yourself a big goal, and work backwards from there. Okay, figure out what you need to do to get 20 properties. How many mortgages do you need? How much cash do you need? How much do you need to save? If do you need to look at different types of loans if conventional loans aren't enough? I mean, be ambitious, be creative. You can pretty much do anything you want when it comes to American real estate. It's one of the best places in the world, one of the most transparent markets, and one of the easiest places to be a real estate entrepreneur. Okay, I've experienced in a lot of different countries. America is by far the best place to build a big portfolio. Okay, so be ambitious, set your goals, write them down, revise them, tell your partner about them, tell the important people in your life about them, and try and get feedback from as many people as you can, and just be ambitious, and like I said at the top, commit to doing it. Okay, so number 6, analyze different areas but choose one location at a time. So there's nothing wrong with thinking, well, I'm looking at Florida and I'm looking at Texas and maybe Ohio. Nothing wrong with looking at those 3 locations from a macro point of view, but drill down into one location at a time. Don't go buying properties in different locations simultaneously, because you're just going to miss out on important things. I think you should do some broad research on the countries, find out what broad opportunities are available in there, and then when you decide which one is better, drill down into that one. So you might look at lots of different states, and then you might say, okay, Florida for me, Tampa, Florida's got the right mix of cash flow and capital appreciation, so I'm going to drill down there. I mean, look, I'm only saying that because I like buying in Tampa, but that's an example you could use. Look at the broad pictures, decide which ones look good, which ones tick the most boxes, and then drill into that one. Don't try and drill into 2 or 3 areas at once, because you won't be able to do it. We're all too busy. So stay focused and buy in one location at a time. And once you've bought a couple of properties in one location, there's nothing wrong with diversifying away into locations 2 and 3 and 4. That's absolutely fine and completely legitimate, but just drill down in one location at a time. Okay? Step number 7 is figure out your financing and get pre-approved. Okay, so a lot of people tend to put the cart before the horse, start talking to sellers, start looking at properties before they've gone through these steps in the right order. I haven't got anywhere close to looking at deals yet, by the way. So I'm just now at figure out your financing and get pre-approved. So I'm not just talking about, okay, well, I've got 30,000 in a bank and that's plenty for a 25% deposit. No, contact a lender, contact a mortgage broker, go through the pre-approval process, send them your income statements, get your verification, get your credit score checked out, get pre-approved, find out for sure how much you're pre-approved for before you approach sellers, because sellers will treat you a lot more seriously if you've done that. And you need to know if there's something in your credit history that you've overlooked. You need to know it in advance before you locate a great property, because it happens that people put down sign a purchase contract, get a reservation, and then go get their finance, and then they find out, oh, well, I'm only eligible for a 65% loan because something happened recently and I need to get my credit score above X to qualify for the lower interest rates or the higher loan to value. So make sure you study that stuff in advance. Tune into the last podcast number 19, whereas I spoke with Christine, a mortgage broker. That goes into a lot more detail about that, but that's a key step. Okay. Step number 8 of 12 is get your core team together. Okay, so once you've committed, got your personal finances in order, once you've gained your general knowledge, once you've set your goals, once you've analyzed the different locations, once you've figured out your financing, then you're in a position to get your core team together. Now, who would that be? Well, broad strokes, you need somebody to help you source properties, you need somebody that's going to rehab the properties, you need somebody who's going to manage the properties, you need someone who's going to maintain the properties, and you need a CPA who's going to file the tax returns on those properties if you don't have time to do it yourself. Okay, so that's 5 people: sourcing, rehabbing, managing, maintenance, and tax returns. Okay, that's your core team. Because you can make that bigger as you go along and as your portfolio gets more complicated, but that's the core. I mean, look, certain companies will do all that for you. You have turnkey operators out there that offer in-house everything, but you don't necessarily need to do that, but you do need people that can take care of all of these for you, especially if you're investing out of state or overseas. Okay, it's doubly important to have those people on the ground in place looking out for you. Number 9, start looking for deals. Okay, that's number 9 of 12. Start looking for deals and get lots of practice analyzing them. Okay, by that I mean you look at your spreadsheets, because look, you're going to be comparing properties probably from lots of different sellers. They all have different ways of presenting information to investors. Some of them will just give you a sales price and an estimated rent and nothing else. Some of them will give you detailed breakdowns on, estimated insurance, rent, property taxes, property management, vacancy reserves, maintenance reserves, capex reserves. So make sure you're comparing them all like with like. Get your templates together. You can start off simple, but you need some sort of template that has your purchase price and then something that measures your gross income, your overheads, and your net income, and make sure you're comparing all of the same properties across all of the same criteria. Okay, and you need to get practice at that. So if you can just practice analyzing 3 or 4 properties a week, which isn't much. I mean, it might take you a while to design the template, but once it's done, it's done. And then maybe it takes you an hour and a half to analyze 3 or 4 properties a week. That's not a whole lot of time. And you spread that out over a couple of months. Once you've analyzed 30, 40, 50 properties, you're pretty good at doing it. You're ahead of a lot of people. You're ahead of most people. So everything is about practice. Everything is about crunching numbers in this game. So review those numbers. Get second opinions if you can. If you know other people that are further down the track than you, if you know some local investors or local property rehabbers or turnkey operators that do this for a living, don't be afraid to ask them for an opinion on your numbers. I mean, most people will be happy to help out. There's other websites like Bigger Pockets where you can post your numbers and get feedback from professionals as well. So either way, get a good template together to analyze your deals. Make sure you're comparing each property in the same way, and then get practice. Analyze lots and lots of properties. Okay, even if you don't have your necessarily, even if you're like 2 or 3 months away from having your deposit together, but you've got your financing in line, but you need a little bit of extra time to save, just start analyzing deals in advance. Just start practicing that as soon as you can. Okay, but once you've got your stuff in order, once you've had some practice measuring deals, step number 10 is make some offers and take the plunge. All right, that's where a lot of people freeze up. They've been very disciplined at setting aside personal time, looking at their personal finances, figuring out what would change if they bought 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 properties. But when it actually comes time to take the plunge, and it is really taking a plunge, you are taking a leap into the unknown the first time you do it. But you have to do it. Don't be afraid to do it. If you've done your homework and you've got your finances in order and you've got your rainy day money and all of that, don't be afraid to take the plunge. Okay, make some offers. Be confident in what you're doing. And also, on that note, don't let anybody intimidate you. There's a lot of aggressive people in this game, in the property business. There's a lot of aggressive realtors out there. There's a lot of aggressive sellers and wholesalers and rehabbers and contractors. A lot of rude people, a lot of bullies. So don't let anybody intimidate you. Stand your ground, but at the same time, don't get angry or aggressive back at them. My way of dealing with it is just to stay calm and professional at all times, to stand your ground. Don't give them an inch. Don't let them push you around. Don't let them make you do something you don't want to do. But don't get angry or aggressive. Just stay calm and professional at all times. happens to me regularly out of a realtor getting angry at me saying, I want you to close next week. It doesn't suit me, so I'm not going to do it. They're annoyed because I'm asking them for a discount because I found something on an inspection report that makes the house less valuable. So I have no problem going back to them and saying, well, look, you told me this air conditioner was fine. It's actually 14 years old. So I want a $2,500 discount if you want me to buy this property. They might jump up and down for a while, but I'll stand my ground and I'm happy to walk away from something. So don't be afraid to do that. You do your numbers, you do your research, and don't be afraid to ask for what makes sense for you. Okay? Stay calm, stay professional, make offers, take the plunge. All right? Number 11, keep yourself organized all the time. Not just at the beginning before you take the plunge. You need to keep organized all the time. I mean, becoming a real estate investor, whether it's full time or part time, it's about creating habits and new routines. So have spreadsheets, have funnels, have your to-do lists, know your deadlines, know your cash flow projections, set aside time to review your portfolio and your performance and your tasks every week, every month. Look at the incomings and outgoings of your properties. Make sure you identify problems early, nip them in the bud, don't let them fester. And that's something that you need to do all the time. I mean, the more complicated your portfolio gets, the more your net worth goes up, the more organized you need to be. I mean, if you talk to people or meet people that have 10, 20, 50, 100 properties, you can be sure these guys and girls are organized. They know what they're doing. They might have periods of disorganization while they're growing, but they eventually are going to have to get a handle on it, and they do, and they keep themselves organized. Torcana are constantly changing and upgrading our systems. That's a big part of my job, is that we're, before, a few years ago when we might have been doing 2 or 3 properties a month, I mean, you can just keep a lot of stuff in your head or a lot of stuff in a simple spreadsheet. But when you're doing 10 or 15 or 20 properties in your pipeline at any one time, with a lot of moving parts, with a lot of people that have different tasks to do, you need a whole other set of systems that you need to keep track of. So you always need to be organized, and don't be afraid to get the quiet time and spend hours revising stuff and teaching people about what they need to do differently to report back to you, or whatever it is. Okay? So that's number 11. Number 12 of my 12 steps is always be networking, always be alert for new opportunities. Okay? So, never just sit back and wait for stuff to come to you. Okay, always be networking, always be talking to people about real estate. Go to the RIA meetings, try and network with fellow professionals, like-minded people. Okay, try and surround yourself with other people that have the same kinds of goals for you. You know that expression, you are the average of your 5 best friends. So make sure that if you want to be owning 10 properties between now and 2020, make sure that you're spending some time with other people that have similar goals, or are a few years ahead of you on the curve. And like I said, always be alert for new opportunities. If you're organized enough, you're able to jump on these opportunities. I mean, I had an opportunity just yesterday, and it was a great house and a great price, but I had to buy it on Friday. I had to buy it like 2 days later. Really, really quick, with cash, no inspection period. Had to mobilize everybody, had to get people out there to look at it, had to get an inspector out there, had to get a property manager out there, literally all in the same afternoon, to make sure there was nothing weird going on with the property. But once everything checked out, it was just simply a distressed seller that had a large loan on the property, a hard money loan that he needed to pay off, that wanted to get it off his books by the end of the year. So I was in a position to jump on it, and it's going to be a great addition to our pipeline, to our portfolio. So, there's just one example. And, keep reviewing your goals. I mean, keep finding out where you're going. I mean, have you might have written something 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago that's no longer relevant. So get back there and revise it, upwards, sideways, downwards, whatever you need to do, but always have some goals that you're aiming for. And look, I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I'm completely organized with all of my goals either. This is something that I've always trying to figure out as well, something I need to revise for myself and for my colleagues for 2017. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to set aside some time to do it. And but more importantly, I'm gonna try and enjoy the Christmas period as well. It's been an incredibly busy year, especially the last 3-4 months of the year has been probably the busiest 3 months of our company's history so far. So we're all going to take a break for the next kind of 10 days or so and come back hopefully with renewed energy in early January. I'm looking forward to some quality time with my family. I've got 2 small kids, so looking forward to that. But I'm definitely going to be setting aside a couple of hours. I'll get up a couple of early mornings, stay awake a couple of late nights, and I'll be reviewing our progress, looking at some big picture stuff, and seeing what we can do and improve in the new year. So listen, thanks very much for listening to these podcasts during 2016. I've really enjoyed recording them. I've really enjoyed the feedback that I've received from a lot of our listeners. It means a lot to me, so thanks very much. Hope you all have a great Christmas and a wonderful New Year, and we'll catch up very soon, alright? So this is Colin Murphy from Torcana, signing out. This recording contains general information relating to the real estate market, and it is for educational purposes only. Buyers should always seek appropriate legal, tax and financial advice from suitably qualified professionals before entering into any real estate transaction. Actual returns from rental properties will always vary from person to person and deal to deal based on unique circumstances. While we have no reason to doubt the validity of comments of any guests on our show, we do not warrant their accuracy. Opinions of the host are not necessarily shared by other employees and partners of Torcana and its subsidiaries.